This is a video that's going to focus on Rashid Shaheed's game-opening kickoff return for a touchdown in the Seahawks NFC division round win against the 49ers in the 2025 playoffs en route to their Super Bowl. But really what this is first of all an attempt for me to get some content out there. It's been very difficult for me to do that in the last 2 weeks. Forgive the sound of my voice. Pretty much my whole family's been sick, and I'm to the point now where I feel like I can produce content as far as the sound that I'm producing for you guys. But really, it's an opportunity for me to show off a program that I have a trial version of, and that's called the Once Sports Telestrator. There's also Once Sports Analyzer. They're really, a lot of overlap between those two programs. So I have a trial version of this one. It allows you to do on-screen annotations like this, a little bit more snazzy or professional looking, if you ask me, than some of the stuff I've been able to create with like circles and diagrams and such. So in any case, we're going to talk about the numbering system on kickoffs. The number 1 to the top is the 5th guy in from the outside, okay? And the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 are displayed there. To the bottom side of our screen, you have the numbers illustrated as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've actually already broke this play down. The reason why I chose this to attempt to put out something for the first time with the Once Sports Telestrator is because I get the end zone angle of it. And it gives you a really nice view of the kickoff because the players are lined up really, really neatly. In any case, the scheme starts with what I consider to be a middle return. And we're talking about these two defenders here, the number 1 to the bottom side of that orange rectangle, and the number 1 to the top side. They're going to be handled by those three blockers for the Seahawks. It's essentially a double team on the top side, number 1. So as Shaheed catches the football, they're going to double or double team that number 1, and then kick out or trap the other number 1. Shaheed's path is meant to take him kind of up the bottom of the numbers and then veer back towards the middle. This is why I call this a middle return, even though where Shaheed catches the ball is certainly not in the middle of the field. The Once Sports Telestrator gives you a lot of options as far as arrows and stuff like that. I love the ability to drop shadow on players, stuff like that, and track them, in fact, which I'll attempt to do here as Shaheed breaks down the field. So in any case, it's a kick-out/trap block by the middle fullback, and you will get the end zone angle. I'm talking about that block that occurs right there. We'll pull it back a couple of times so you can see what I'm talking about. It's illustrated by that red line. And essentially, Shaheed is cutting off of that kick out or that trap block. Here are the two Seattle Seahawks players that double team the number 1 49ers defender from the top side of the screen. The number 1 from the bottom side is the guy who's being kicked out. Unblocked number 4 here. Unblocked guy here that Jake Bobo does a great job of peeling back to go get. And then unblocked 5 from the top. That's the tackle that Rashid Shaheed is going to break, which springs him loose to avoid the kick or the sliding tackle attempt, by the kicker. So there's your 2 unblocked defenders, and Bobo is peeling back to go get this guy right here. I love I'm glad that they brought Bobo back and Shaheed, obviously. I'm not really into the whole Kenneth Walker III versus Shaheed conversation. I understand that the economics or the finances and why people would bring that up. I'm just glad they brought both of them back, to be honest with you. I think both of those guys offer a lot. Bobo more so on special teams as far as effort and blocking. You see an example of it here. Bobo's block right here on, I think it's Makuba, the rookie from Texas, allows Shaheed to get through, and then he's got to deal with the unblocked 5. Like I said, when you get the end zone angle, you'll see a slightly different angle of it. Like I said, the Once Sports Telestrator gives you great options as far as tracking players. I feel like it does a really nice job. Shaheed, just has to beat the kicker here. Well, I should say has to beat the kickers. A slide tackle. At this point, it's a funny anecdote, right, in their Super Bowl run that kicker tried to slide tackle him on the game-opening kick return for a touchdown by Shaheed. It's a great play, great scheme. I think Shaheed's talents obviously make it work. I'm interested, and I don't know, and probably won't be any way to find out, as to whether or not that was just one of the base return schemes that the Seahawks had before they acquired Shaheed, or if they kind of went to that or created it, if you will, once he was traded from New Orleans. Like I said, I intentionally picked this play to use because it gives a great angle here, or opportunity to look at the end zone angle, I should say, and show off the Once Sports Telestrator program. I hope to get a full version soon. I'm pretty much committed at this point to paying money for that as opposed to paying for Adobe. Adobe's great products, obviously. Premiere, I use Photoshop a lot for all of my thumbnails. But to be honest with you, the cost continues to rise, and Once Sports just seems to offer me a lot more on-screen telestration in an easier manner. Essentially, it's front-end editing as opposed to post-production, if you will. But in any case, there's the midline and then 1 through 5 to the left. These are the two players that are going to get handled. The double team, the scheme is going to be a double team on this number 1, and then a kick out / trap by the middle fullback. A lot of times people call them mules. So the outside and inside mule or fullback is going to double team that number 1 on our right. As Shaheed catches the ball, I'll give you a little bit of a diagram of what I'm talking about. So this number 1 is going to get the double team. And then the other number 1, number 33, I'm not sure who he is, to be honest with you, from a roster standpoint. He's the guy that he's going to move in this direction. Look, when you say middle return, it's all relative, right? Shaheed doesn't bring this in between the hashes. Shaheed doesn't bring this anywhere in here, right? He gets close to the right hash from a Seahawks perspective. It's all relative because the players are moving. In fact, so that's what I'm trying to illustrate here is this guy, kind of moves. The One Sports Illustrator gives us the option of being able to actually physically move players on screen. So that's what I'm trying to annotate here is that he's moving in that direction, and then he'll end up getting trapped or kicked out by this Seahawks blocker here. Hopefully I explain that in a way that makes sense, and the on-screen annotations provide some information or idea about the spatial awareness. In any case, his initial path, his being Shaheed, I should say, is at the bottom of the numbers. Interesting to me, if this ball had been kicked to the other side, I think we would just see the same blocking scheme, but on the opposite side. So I think there's just probably like a Ricky or a Linda call for the guys up front, meaning if the ball was kicked over here, my suspicion is these two players would probably double team that guy, and then the middle mule or fullback would go and trap this guy. Forgive me, there's way too much on screen at this point right now. So again, I'll have to look at how I can incorporate two programs. I use One Sports Illustrator for this, and then Quick Cut database to be able to show it while I use OBS to record. There's the scheme, or the path, I should say, for Shaheed. You've also got an unblocked 4 directly in front of his face, so Shaheed's got to escape him after going directly at him. So that's kind of unusual. I think it just takes advantage of A, Shaheed's speed and burst, and B, his agility to be able to cut back off of this kick out or this trap block. I think it's the fullback that's executing it. He runs away basically from an unblocked 4, and then he jukes or breaks the tackle of the unblocked 5. That's my favorite part of this play, not just him getting out of the slide tackle. I'm talking about that missed tackle forced right there. It's what makes it work, really, since the two number 1s are 2 players for the 49ers, have 3 allocated for them by the Seahawks to block. It's a great scheme. I think I understand about 70 to 75% of it. And the reason why I say that is, first of all, respect for the NFL coordinators, the guys who do this professionally, number 1. Number 2, the fact that I don't know if this was specific to the 49ers or not. What I do know is that Shaheed was clutch often late in the 2025 season. Here he was like the leadoff hitter who hit a home run, right? And really put them up 7-0, game that ended up being unwinnable, seriously, for the 49ers. Just Seattle playing fantastic, if you ask me, throughout the whole playoffs, but really the entire season. Let me know what you think of the Once Sports Telestrator. It's something I think I'm committed at this point to buying and purchasing and allowing me to. I'll probably have to show less plays than I used to in some of my videos in previous years, where I'd show 10 or 12 plays. And that was for depth purposes, like to give as many different plays that illustrate the points I'm trying to make in order to utilize this program, the on-screen graphics. There's a little bit of work on the front end, so it'll probably cut my plays utilized in half, would be my guess. Maybe make for shorter videos. In any case, this one went on a little bit longer than I really would have intended for being only one play. It was an important play, number 1, but really ultimately one that afforded me a great view from the end zone angle to kind of show off the One Sports Illustrator and see what you guys thought of the on-screen annotations used that way. Appreciate you guys' time.